This is what is left of the dead entrance of the concentration camp. Prisoners went through here, thinking they would get a shower. People would actually find their dead, completely unaware in a gas form. The Sachsenhausen concentration camp was built in 1936 by the Nazis to massively confine or liquidate opponent politicians, Jews, gypsies, homosexuals. I mean, just imagine 3 people lying right here. I don't even want to imagine what it was to sleep after a long day of hard work in such conditions. Work sets free. Ironically, this was the way they received all the prisoners coming into this place. Hello my friends, welcome to a new video. For those who don't know me, my name is Gabriel Herrera. My friends, right now I am located in the train station in Oranienburg, Germany, really close to Berlin's downtown at about 40 kilometers, and that short route you saw a few moments ago is the path you need to travel nowadays to arrive to this place. It only takes 7 minutes in a bus to get to an awful place, well, that stains German history. This is one of the more than 15 concentration camps that existed in Germany and its surroundings, and precisely this place, Oranienburg, that is right here, is the place where all the prisoners whose destination was this concentration camp arrived. This was the Sachsenhausen concentration camp. Nowadays, to get to this concentration camp, you can take a bus that takes around 7 minutes to get there. Nothing like rain to make this day even sadder. Well, my friends, we have arrived to the Sachsenhausen concentration camp, which doesn't even look like one. And even though you see like houses around me like this one right here, you can see the concentration camp's entrance right here. This is the entrance to the concentration camp, which was opened between the years 1936 and the year 1945. The main objective of this concentration camp was to imprison, murder, and enslave every person that just because of their race, their beliefs, or for their physical conditions were sent here. I know some of you are probably wondering why are there so many houses around the concentration camp's entrance, which I wonder too. And investigating, well, I discovered that these were the guards and all of the personal houses who were working in the concentration camp. It is incredible to think these people were living so close to this horrible place. I mean, kids were playing on this street without knowing what was happening inside that place. My friends, I need to confess I feel a big emotional charge in this place because I am not here as a tourist, no, not at all. In fact, I'm looking for knowledge and to take this story to you so we can learn more about history and everything that happened here. This concentration camp we are visiting today was used by the Nazis during World War, and here, as I told you before, they exterminated and enslaved people who represented a threat for them, or the ones who didn't just fit in the ideal of what they called the Aryan race. The ones brought here were all the Jews, gypsies, homosexuals, or even people with a disability, people who according to the Nazis were valueless. Here we have at the very entrance the model of the entire place and how it was divided, so you can imagine the dimensions of this place, and that way you can understand a little better the size of this place. Consider that Central Park has 340 hectares approximately, and this concentration camp where we are right now is 400 hectares. That is how big this place was. Check this out right here. This is the chimney where all of the bodies were burned, and afterwards a gas chamber was built in this same place where 30 people could be killed at the same time. And we need to know that this was a concentration camp. That means here was not meant to kill, or it was not designed to exterminate all of the Jews, the gypsies, or all of the people that were brought here to this place. And that is the main difference with the extermination camps, where people were taken exclusively when they were about to be killed, because they were useless according to the Nazis. In these extermination camps, for example, in Auschwitz, they would kill by day around at least 1,000 people. In this concentration camp, about 30 people were killed by day. That's why Sachsenhausen was considered as a working camp. Here, people who were considered useful to work by the Nazis were put to work. Still, everyone was afraid of being killed, because here was the dead place of about 20 to around 50,000 people in 9 years. All of this area, which is right behind me, were the old barracks of the SS, and nowadays they are still in use by the police force. That sign standing right there in the back has an article of the actual federal German law that says human dignity should be inviolable. To respect and protect it should be the duty of all state authority. The truth, I'm surprised those offices are still in use even after everything that happened here, even after knowing the people who used that place and the horrible reason why it was built. Something I can't stop thinking every time I see this kind of bricks like this is that this was built, these very same bricks were made by the people who were trapped in here with the fear of being killed at any moment. And this could have been made by any of the more than 50,000 prisoners who were killed in this same place. This one is considered as one of the most important concentration camps of the Third Reich, because here were made a lot of decisions related to feeding, punishment, tortures that were applied later in every other camp in the existing Germany in 1936. The one we just went through is the main entrance to this concentration camp, and right in that door there is a message that says, in German it would be something like Arbeit macht frei, that means work sets free. Ironically, they received with this message in this door every prisoner who came here. The most impacting thing is that some of the prisoners didn't even get to put a foot inside here, because if the guards found just one piece of bread when prisoners arrived, they might have killed them right there. I want you to see how the wall was guarded and look at the completely tangled barbed wire. In addition, there is another wire back there, and that whole barrier was totally electrified. Something that used to happen with that electric wire is that a lot of prisoners electrocuted themselves and died because the conditions inside this horrible place were absolutely terrible. All this place I am showing you right now was the magazine square. In this place they stood there for hours. They were hours and hours of standing in there, and if one of the prisoners was missing, they were punished in there for a long time, rain, sun, cold, depending on the season, until the prisoner was found. That is the way that all of the prisoners were punished to avoid escaping. And this other area in front of us is where the sheds were located, inside those rectangles where people used to sleep. Now the only ones remaining are those ones that are still standing in that small area, and we'll see them later. In total, there were 68 sheds, and all of them were around the magazine square. Countless were the abuses inside the square, punishments, torture, or humiliations. Now I will take you to the last two sheds that are still standing, which are the number 38 and 39. Here is where the imprisoned Jews stayed in this exact camp and where they slept. You will see under what conditions. People woke up at 5 a.m. to work and returned at night. As you can see, the sheds were totally made of wood, and also the framings of the windows. But even they were made of wood, they were almost completely hermetic, and they were so airtight that even the prisoners complained that they were missing air inside. Right here we can find the toilet the prisoners used and to which they had a very brief access. Just take a look at this place. They were only allowed to use this 2 times a day, at dawn and night, and in very special cases during working time. Here is where they had the few meals they got, and also here are the benches and the tables they used to use. What I'll tell you is a little disturbing. We have here a bowl with a spoon, and this was the most precious possession that every single prisoner had. because a prisoner that didn't have a bowl and a spoon had no food that time, and they were only allowed to have one single meal a day, which consisted of a liter of soup, 300 grams of bread, and a little piece of potato. But if the prisoner was missing this, they received nothing, so this became the most valuable thing in the world for these people. I want you to understand something about this place. This was designed to hold up to 150 people, but obviously they got way more people in. And that happened so that in the beds 3 or 4 prisoners used to sleep together, and they accommodate in those beds that I will show you briefly. Here they are, all the bunk beds they used. Sometimes people slept on this area, so if any prisoner needed to go to the restroom during the night, they could lose their place there. That's a fact. And now you can compare the size of those dimensions in comparison with my body. So take a look at that. The size and the width of the bed is pretty much the size of my arm. Can you see, guys? Imagine sleeping here with other 3 people. I don't even want to imagine what it was to sleep after a long day of hard work, and instead of resting, they had to distribute the space with other people, and they might rather be out. In this place, 8 to 10 people could be at the same time to wash up. This, my friends, is an example of the uniforms worn by prisoners and the star symbol that the Jews had to use on their clothes. And now we can see the identification number assigned to the prisoners. As I told you before, this was a concentration camp to work. And here, a lot of prisoners were forced to work. Just in the path I'm walking through, in this irregular trail, they forced the prisoners to march and test the boots made by the leather German company, guys. Just imagine marching at a military step for hours in this kind of path, and also with a pair of boots that are not your size, causing some injuries, and in addition to having that extra weight that you aren't used to. That is a lot. And believe it or not, in this place, in this concentration camp, being already a prison for a lot of people because they were not able to leave, there existed inside the camp another prison, and we'll see it now. It was mainly used to imprison special prisoners, like for example, people who used to have a military position before, and this is the place where they served their sentences. I don't know if it is visible, but previously the prison used to have a T form. There was a wing, there was another one on this side, and the one still standing is this one over here. And it is strange to see this section of the prison where some of the windows are completely closed. I guess it was some kind of punishment for the prisoners in this particular cells. This is part of the foundations left from the destroyed sections of the prison. And all of the cells where people were confined were located right here. Here we can see one of the surveillance towers which watched all over the prison. What you see in the back right now was the firing pit. It was not one of the most used methods to kill in this concentration camp by the Nazis, because of the emotional charge this caused to the people in charge of the killings. Exactly this way I'm walking was the path of death, which took a lot of prisoners to be executed by the SS Nazi soldiers. Being honest, I don't want to imagine what it was back then. Those moments walking here, knowing they would be the last few minutes of your life. This is what is left of the dead entrance of the concentration camp, where people thought they would get a shower, but instead, people would actually find their death in a gas form. That was because through this path was the entrance to the gas chambers, one of the most common and used method to exterminate the prisoners in the concentration and extermination camps by the Nazis. This you are looking at are the remainings of what once was the crematory ovens, where the bodies of the killed people were burned, regardless of the method used to kill, gas, firing pit, or any other. Right there where those ovens used to be were the huge chimneys through which the burning gases were expelled after the cremation of the dead prisoners. The previous picture you watched was this exact place. Right there is where the gas chambers were and the chimneys of the different ovens, and down there was the shooting strip, and there is where ashes were found. This is how the gas chambers looked like inside. Check out how they looked like showers, but it was not precisely a water shower what people received there. Inside this concentration camp, people from 34 different countries died. This building we can see over here was the morgue back in those days, and this was the entrance to where they put the bodies. Don't think that for every person who got killed in this concentration camp an autopsy was performed to them. No, not at all. That was only for the people that the SS doctors considered that had a different anatomy or a special characteristic to consider the autopsy and be properly analyzed. So the autopsy was only made if the SS officers requested it. And between the morgue building we just saw and this one on the left, there was a broad field inside the concentration camp where obviously the women were prisoners, and it was mainly used by the SS officers and some prisoners with special privileges. These women came from another concentration camps and were a privilege for some prisoners. Other thing that existed inside this concentration camp was a casino, which obviously was used by the SS officers, probably to spend a good time after a long day of torturing the prisoners and as a way of the SS officers to do something else. Soviet troops freed the camp on April 22, 1945, exactly at 11:08. This was our visit through the concentration camp. Right now we will do something that a lot of people dream to do with their whole hearts but never achieved it. And it is leaving through these doors where this absurd message still remains. We have arrived at the end of the video, my friends, hoping this video helps and shows us the terrible effects of war, to show that separating us for any reason brings nothing good neither for the victim or victimizer, because as you remember, the Nazis had a terrible fate as well, because at one moment what went up had to fall down. I hope humanity gets to understand this one day, that we are all humans. We don't have to be separated or divided for any reason. We are all here for the same purpose, and I think that until everyone understands that, things like that will continue to happen. Friends, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are not yet subscribed, and activate the notification so you get to know any update. Friends, from the concentration camp of Sachsenhausen, I say goodbye. I'll see you in the next video. I say goodbye. Bye bye. Love you guys.